Hey guys, welcome back to our channel once again. This is Jasur and Rishi from Bali, Ubud. We are in this villa that we are renting. We stayed here for one night now. And yesterday we visited an e-commerce event here. That's the purpose, one of the purposes why we came here. So the topic of this video, as you can see here, e-commerce business comparing Indonesia to China. There are some advantages in both markets and disadvantages, and also we would like to mention a couple of things and information that we heard from the founders in yesterday's event in Bali. So Rishi, if you can start, then continue.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Jasur, for the video. So, guys, yesterday's event we attended, it was an e-commerce event with respect to food and beverage industry. And we spoke to 4 founders of 4 locally formed businesses. Two in relation to chocolates. Now these are basically organic chocolates and very much so
Locally
sourced chocolates. And then 2 of the businesses were by foreigners. One of them was a Malaysian national and the other one was a South African national who has lived in multiple regions across the globe. One of the business was a beer business, the other business was a whiskey business, and then 2 of the traditional whiskey, Indonesian whiskey, and then 2 of them were chocolate businesses. One of the chocolate businesses, the founder is from the UK, and he started off just by selling maybe 1 kilogram of chocolate, and then suddenly the business grew organically, again without the help of social media or such, lots of contacts, just organically started off by selling 1 kilo, then 20 kilos and 50, and now they're exporting to the UK, Australia, Austria, even New Zealand. So those are the businesses. There's plenty of opportunities here in Indonesia to do businesses. However, there are certain barriers. When I say barriers, they're not necessarily just barriers to entry to do business. However, there are certain hurdles that one has to face, like any other business anywhere in the globe. They have to face to form a company here in Indonesia, but more so that also doing the business. One common similarity just among the businesses between China and Indonesia when it comes to food and beverage, when it comes to this kind of industry and especially e-commerce, that China, just like China and Indonesia, you have to have a local partner. When I say you have to have a local partner, not just from a technical or legal standpoint of view, but more so from a point of view that they assist you in many ways, having more connections. Yeah. Exactly.
Making your business more successful. In terms of that, yeah, definitely you need to work with local person. This is what the 4 founders yesterday mentioned.
So that is something that is key. So when you're doing businesses here,
because the tradition, the culture, business ethics, and everything is different.
Exactly.
Probably wherever you're from.
And one more thing which also applies in China as well. I lived in China 4 years. He lived in China 11 years. You cannot copy a paste approach from European or the US market. So just that for the fact that you land off the plane, you come to Indonesia, you decide I'm going to apply the American or the British mindset or European mindset, it won't work here. You have to localize. And funnily enough, when it comes to localization, I'm going to mention that. So today I just read in the news, Burger King and McDonald's and Domino's in India, in the Hindu-dominated religious cities where we have the pilgrimage, they have stopped offering onion, garlic, and meat. So there's certain Hindus who basically don't eat onions and garlic in their food. So the menu is completely overhauled, stopped offering onion, garlic, and then meat products from all. So even if you, for example, you eat meat, you go there, you won't be able to get meat.
Of course.
So when it comes to food and beverage, you have to be very specific. It's with a fine-tooth comb. You have to be very intricate with the details in any market. And just to not hurt the sentiments of the local people, because everybody has a different palate, everybody has a different taste. So for example, like chocolates, beer, for example, Europe is more into craft beer, whereas in Indonesia, they're not so much. The Indonesians I'm talking about are not so much in craft beer. So let's say you're selling beer in Ireland or UK, and then you decide, okay, I want to go and sell beer in Indonesia, craft beer. They won't buy it, they won't drink it, the locals won't, for sure.
Yeah, the reason why this beer founder, I mean, the company which produces beer, founder of it is actually from South Africa. He lived in all over the place, like New Zealand and the US, and he's got definitely experience. But one thing he mentioned is craft beer culture in Indonesia is very minimal. Like it means that there is a educating the market element there.
Yes.
So you need to spend a lot of time
And a lot of money as well.
Yeah, a lot of money as well. You need to talk to people, like introduce your beer. That you have to present it so well that they start buying it. Otherwise, there's this widespread culture here in terms of alcohol in most of the Eastern Asian countries, which is you drink to become drunk.
Yes.
Right? That's like
exactly.
in China as well. In Japan, you see like they drink sake and stuff like that, not for the taste, so much. Like Rishi mentioned, in the European and some of the Western countries, there are people who only drink for the taste,
Exactly.
not to get really like drunk.
And also, like Europeans, even when they're going on a holiday, the holiday for British people starts at the airport. Every time I fly from Stansted Airport, 10 in the morning, you'll have a fine British gentleman drinking a beer, and then that's just the culture. To be honest, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
They're going on a holiday, they want to chillax, they want to relax, so that's the way to do it, which makes sense. But however, in Indonesia and in China as well, in China, baijiu, for example, baijiu is a drink designed to get drunk.
Yeah, of course. It's like the alcohol volume is so high.
Exactly.
And baijiu is basically the Chinese version of your whiskey,
Exactly.
Or liquor or gin, whatever. I mean, it's just
like
pure
combination
white.
of
Combination. It tastes so different.
Yes.
Yeah, maybe there are similarities between Japanese sake and Chinese baijiu.
Exactly.
In terms of taste, but meaning it's very different from whiskey or anything you have in the West.
So going back to the point of the event yesterday, few things that the founders didn't touch upon in terms of the food and beverage industry here, more so the localization aspect. To do business in any country, and of course Indonesia as well, yes, you got to know the local market, local taste, but also understand the legal hurdles as well that will come along your way. Of course, we will assist you with all the incorporation process, setting up the businesses, but in terms of putting in the effort, for example, Indonesia has a population of 260 million people. There's no point to come to Indonesia and then you think of exporting. Yes, China is an export economy, manufacturing economy. It has been since I've been seeing China. However, for example, Indonesia, local population is 260 million people. The home market is so big enough, you don't necessarily have to export to grow your business. That's one of the points. Also, in terms of food and beverage, there's certain licenses which are to be had. For example, in the US, the FDA approval. However, in Asia, there are certain nitty-gritty details which can be bypassed if you know the right people. And again, I'm not saying do anything illegal. However, Asia is still Asia, so China maybe not so much. However, Indonesia, if you happen to know the right people, you will be able to pass along those hurdles with ease. And to get those right connections, you have to be able to go out, meet people, but make sure you have a local partner. I do business here. I've got the real estate license, I've got the financial management license. I have local partners. Without local partners, my business would not be succeeding here in Indonesia.
Right. Yeah, okay. I also want to mention a few things about these legal aspects and compare them to China. Based on the information that I obtained, obviously through online search and also meeting these founders yesterday in yesterday's e-commerce event. In Indonesia, apparently there is this also Rishi also touched this topic. Like there is a paid-up capital requirement when you register a company, a limited liability company, which is PMA.
Yes.
But this registered capital, like he mentioned, for example, if you work with a local agency,
Yes.
they can sort of, provide that registered capital for you using their own funds in case you don't have your own funds.
Yes.
Meaning that if you have like, let's say $10,000 might not be enough because the minimum registered capital here is 10 billion Indonesian rupiah.
So there's two different types of companies, PT-PMA and PT-PMNA. So with the PT-PMA, you need minimum of 10 billion rupiah, which is roughly about $700,000, give or take. And then with the other companies, if it's a small, medium, large enterprise, so it depends between 1 billion up to 10 billion.
Right. So it differs from
From the industry and differs from the what kind of business you do.
Alright.
However, this just like China, there are certain industries, certain businesses here in Indonesia, like tobacco, for example, or certain licenses which are tough to get. Like for example, chemical license is tough to get in China because the government here wants to protect the local business people, local market, which makes sense. Protectionism has to exist in Asia, otherwise they wouldn't be able to survive. Indonesia is still a relatively a third world country, so they have to protect their own people interests first.
Of course.
Paid up capital, and then with the paid up capital, just so that you have mentioned the paid up capital point, I'm also going to mention, yes, if you partner with a local person, they will help you with providing the paid up capital. You just have to keep the money in the account. You don't necessarily have to spend the money. However, you just have to keep it in the account for a short period of time. Start doing your business, start conducting your business, day-to-day activities. Then they pull out those funds. Then you're left with 100% foreign ownership in the company. It's your say. Do whatever you want.
So this is a very interesting point actually. A lot of guys mentioned in yesterday's event, like food and beverage. These industries require a local partner.
Yes.
Tobacco, alcohol, food and beverage, meaning that however percentage you decide between your local partner, between you and your local partner, but there has to be a legal partner in the company, right? So they have to have certain shares in the company.
Whatever. However, in Indonesia, there is a legal requirement to have a local partner. That's why it's very important to have a trustworthy local partner. You'll find lots of people, but to have a trustworthy local partner who won't cheat you. And also sometimes when, as a foreigner, if you don't have a local partner and then you want to start up a company, you have to have a lot of capital, paid up capital. If you're partnering with a local person, then you don't need that paid up capital, but then the trust element comes in. So you have to have the perfect balance. Now, if you have $1 million, let's say, dollars, and you want to come to Indonesia, fine. Come here, start your company, do your business, no issues whatsoever, 100% foreign ownership. You don't need to have a local partner. But then when you start going about, conducting your daily day-to-day activities without a local partner, where are you going to get the cheapest raw materials? Like good quality
sourcing is challenging because obviously, like outside the city areas or the centers of towns here. Local people in the outskirts probably won't be able to speak English.
Of course.
It will be a big challenge. So either you come with the Indonesian Bahasa language, skills or experience, or you partner with a local person or hire some, assistants.
Yes.
But I think this is a, natural thing, like obvious thing, even in China.
Yeah.
I mean, China, in most of the big cities, tier 1 cities they call, local people speak English to some extent, but when it comes to sourcing, I've seen many, for example, sourcing companies which cannot speak decent English. So it's better for negotiation purposes, for bargaining purposes, or signing agreements, you need to still have a local partner.
But that's, I guess, everywhere. And one benefit here in Indonesia is that Indonesians, in terms of percentage-wise, there are more English speakers in Indonesia than in China.
Yeah, definitely.
So even in Indonesia, schools also teach English. However, in China, they don't. Like, I'm talking about the local schools in China, even in major cities. Here in hotels, you've been noticing we've been going around Bali. Like, we've been in Canggu, we've stayed in Seminyak, we've stayed in Kuta, we're now here in Ubud. 4 different regions across Bali. All the villas that we've rented, the people renting the villas to us, they're speaking perfectly good English. Where we're going for dinners, lunches, restaurants, people are speaking
almost everyone speaks English.
Which is good. Whereas, however, in China, you have to pick your food from the menu, from the picture, and you just pay. There's hardly any communication. So that's one of the benefits of doing business in Indonesia.